On February 28, 2026, the global economy was put under a huge surprise stress test. The United States and Israel launched a massive coordinated strike on Iran. The Operation Epic Fury, reportedly hits over 1,000 sites across Iran with air defenses, missile infrastructure, and command centers all being targeted. In the chaos, early reports even suggest that Iran's leadership structure was destroyed. Financial markets rapidly had to price in the event and the new situation of the world. Oil moved first. A barrel of oil rips 50% in just a couple weeks. It was one of the sharpest energy shocks in years. The entire energy complex catches a bid as traders price in supply disruption, especially around the Strait of Hormuz, which we'll get into in a moment. Everything that depended on cheap fuel gets hit immediately. Airlines, travel, they dump fast due to perceived higher costs of doing business. At the same time, gold started climbing as risk appetite collapsed and capital rotates into safety. Then it escalated even further. Through early March, Iran responds with waves of missile and drone strikes across the region. They targeted US forces and Israel. Most of it got intercepted, but that's not really what matters for the markets. What matters is the uncertainty, because uncertainty equals volatility. By mid-March, the Strait of Hormuz becomes the center of the entire story, not just geopolitically, but economically. A narrow choke point that a few weeks ago barely got mentioned is now effectively the most important energy artery on Earth. A meaningful portion of global oil flows is now at risk. Even though it's only about 30 miles wide, 20% of the world's oil comes through this strait. Estimates suggest that millions of barrels per day are disrupted or delayed, which tightens the supply conditions fast. Markets don't wait for the confirmation, they price in the fear immediately. The S&P 500 sold off a good bit, about 8% over the course of a month. Tech and growth stocks led the fall because as these global tensions rise, traders have less of an appetite for risk. Capital rotated pretty aggressively as soon as the war got lit up. Energy stocks rallied hard, defense names caught some early bids, and the volatility just became the new normal. Large intraday swings that used to be big days are now just a Tuesday. But then in early April, something shifts. The US and Iran started to negotiate, and suddenly some ceasefire talks started to form. The markets reacted instantly. Oil pulled back from its highs and stocks ripped higher as traders priced in de-escalation for the first time in weeks. But at the end of the day, nothing here is stable. Even with the ceasefire, the situation is still really fragile. The Strait of Hormuz is still a pressure point, the war tension is still high, nuclear negotiations are still unresolved, there's fear of the strait being cluttered with underwater mines, and neither side fully trusts the deal. As I'm making this video in mid-April, oil is still elevated but not at its highs. Equities have recovered most of the drawdown, and the S&P 500 is actually less than 1% away from all-time highs. Volatility dropped, but it's not totally gone. Energy and defense stocks are still pretty inflated, airlines and travel are still under some good pressure, and every headline still has the power to move the markets in minutes. And that's the real takeaway here, because this isn't just a war playing out on maps, it's a live feed of every escalation, statement, and negotiation that's directly tied to global pricing. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed.